Hi everyone, it's Alex Moyle here. This week I was talking at the Recruitment Agency Expo in Birmingham, and I was talking about how to build a business development culture. And that's really about making business development something everyone in the organisation is involved in, rather than just the sales team. Now, I've been asked for the slides, and I thought rather than just send over the slide deck, I thought I'd just do a little short condensed version of the talk so those that look through the slides again can hopefully get benefit from them. So let's look at some of the challenges in the recruitment industry. One of the biggest challenges in the industry is there's just been no end of commoditization. When I started as a recruitment consultant 20 years ago, it was go to the local paper, ask for some referrals internally, use a search firm at 30%, or you had to go to a contingent agency. The challenge for the recruitment industry in today's world is that there is no end of options for companies. They've got really effective in-house teams. They've got PSLs that work. Large companies are outsourcing. You've got fixed price recruiters. You've got companies like Indeed that are looking to create a digital IPO sort of a outsourced service. You've got people by the hour, which reduces the need to hire people on short term. So the need for recruitment agencies to have a culture where they're continuously winning new business, but also adding value to those clients is absolutely key for their success. Now, the challenge that a lot of agencies have is that they worship the job order. And what I mean by worship the job order is that business development is the things you do when you don't even have any bad jobs to work. And so when I get a job, I can go, I don't have to do business development because I've got a job to work, irrespective of whether we're going to get paid. And so part of business development is taking it away from something that's the thing you do when you don't have anything in your pipeline. And it's about the thing that you've got to do every day, or at least every week, to continue to deliver a flow of clients that can give you the level of opportunities that you want. And this is because as recruiters, they're not full-time business developers, because a lot of time they spend delivering to clients. And that's no different than accountants, lawyers, and a lot of marketeers. Now, the paradox in a lot of recruitment companies is the fact that the best business developers actually do the least business development. Because the way the industry works is that you go in and you spend 2 or 3 years knocking on doors, getting a hard time, and then you build yourself a client base that you can then milk and leverage over the years. No different from maybe a financial advising type business. And what that means is that often you've got the experienced business developers don't have to do any business development because they've got clients that give them a call, and the little they do tops up their business and helps them to hit their target. But as an organization as a whole, that's really inefficient because you've obviously got the individual people that are less experienced that are actually doing the heavy lifting of generating new clients and trying to grow the business. And so business development is about everybody being involved in that process. Now, the problem that a lot of business owners face is that they've got all these individuals that like working jobs, like making placements, arranging interviews, no different than IFAs that like giving advice, or lawyers that like being lawyers, that just sort of say, look, I can't sell, I won't sell. And they don't, because they see business development, they see sales as something that's dirty. They don't really see it as a part of their job that's actually very enjoyable. And so what we're going to do is think about, through this talk, how can you engage everybody that doesn't want to see sales as sales, but sees it in a wider perspective of actually helping not only their business grow, but the company grow. Now, when we're thinking about culture of an organization, there's 3 things that are component parts of that. The first part is thinking about, like, what are the company goals? And one of the reasons why people don't like doing BD is they're not bought into the goals of the organization. So we're going to look at that for a lot of the talk. They also don't necessarily feel that the way the organization works serves the needs of their customers. And lastly, they might not like how they're treated or their colleagues are treated through the day-to-day cut and thrust of running a business. And so if you're looking to inspire people to want to do business development, you've got to engage them in actually wanting to do it. And I use the term discretionary effort because actually a lot of times really effective business development is a discretionary effort. If I'm busy working a job, I probably don't really have to chase that lead. Like, my director would like me to, but I really don't have to. And discretionary effort is a bit like litter on the street. Often you can tell how engaged someone is in the society they live in when they see a bit of litter on the street. Do they feel like they're going to pick it up and put it in the bin? How often do we walk past litter because we don't think it's our job? But that really tells everybody how engaged we are in the society that we live in. It's no different in business development. If I feel about business development it's the sort of the dirty part of my job, then I'm going to leave those leads chasing. I'm just going to leave them on the side. I'm going to see that client that I could get more business from, and I'm not really going to be bothered as long as I can feed myself today. So let's look at some of the things that businesses and leaders can do to help their teams become more engaged in sales. The first thing is that people ask themselves, what difference does my business make to the community? Do you actually serve the community and contribute to the community that you sell to day in, day out? Or do you just leech off it? Are you a parasite that exists because of that community? And when I talk about giving to that community, it's about, are you contributing to industry or networking events? Are you running workshops for your clients or your candidates to actually help them achieve their own goals without necessarily immediately looking for a fee? Some of the most successful agencies that I know are really involved in the communities that they serve, whether it be the accounting community, IT community. So I know a lot of IT agencies that run meetups for local developers, accounting recruiters and marketing recruiters that run workshops for candidates on how to write good CVs. They might run workshops for their clients on how to be better at interviewing and hiring. A number even run conferences, so people like Flair for Recruitment and Harrington Star, amongst a few. But what you've got to think about is, how do you contribute to your community? How are you involved in being part of the industry that you're involved in? The next thing you've got to think about is, how can you get your team to believe that they're doing a good thing? My current favourite book that I've just read is by Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. And before he actually founded Nike, he was a salesperson. He sold funds, he sold encyclopedias. And the question he asked himself was, how is it that I was rubbish at selling funds, and how is it I was rubbish at selling encyclopedias, but yet fantastic and really excited about selling shoes? And his view was it's about belief. How do you get people to believe that what they're doing is actually helping their customers and themselves? And what I'd say to that is, he believed strongly that if everyone went running every day, the world would be a better place. And so he didn't think twice about promoting the shoes and creating the shoes that make them best. In the recruitment industry, do you really believe that you help candidates in their career, or are you just interested in arranging some interviews and making a career? What you've got to think about is really and truly, how can you get your team to believe that you do a good thing? When I do conferences, what I often ask is, if you had the cure for a major disease, would you think twice about picking up the phone to someone that you didn't know and say, I can cure you? 99% of people in the room, if they had the cure for a disease that would help someone be better, they wouldn't think twice about making a cold call. The problem is, the teams in your business don't believe in what you're selling and the difference that it can make. And that's partly down to the culture that you make, and about not only about how you serve your community, but how do you serve your customers day to day. And what this means is that when you think about business development as an organization, you've got to transition from the traditional model of hunting and going out and finding business and finding someone that you're going to hunt down, put in a corner and close, to really, how are you helping? How are you seen internally and externally to be helping your customers? A lot of times in today's world, by the time a customer calls you, they're probably half the way through the sales process. And so what that means for organizations is that if you rely on closing deals once someone calls you, you're going to be in a foot race, and it's always going to come down to price. What you do is you want someone to call you first. You want someone at the moment of need, they give you a shout. And so your goal in business development is to go around helping people get what they want, and building emotional credit with your current customers and future customers. What that then means is that when they have a need, they'll think, oh, I'll call Alex, or I'll call this, or I'll call this firm, I'll call this firm. Because they know they've been helped out and they want to return that favour. Now, it's not foolproof, but you've got to get business development focused around helping your customers rather than just going out and selling them. And that way people will feel a lot better about doing that. But in order to do that, you've got to think, what do your customers actually need? A lot of transactional organisations, so recruitment, financial advisors, lawyers, just think about, I can send you CVs and get you the right person. I can get you great financial advice. But what they don't focus on is the problems and the needs of the individuals that they're actually serving. What's the consequences of that client not getting the person in at the right time? How does that line manager feel about recruitment? How can the recruiter help make the recruitment process easier in order for that client to enjoy, or just not enjoy quite as much, the recruitment process? And that's the value that you've got. Your clients will be able to get someone that can deliver the same service that you deliver for less. The thing that makes them want to use you is not the product that you deliver or the service that you deliver. It's about how you deliver it. And the difference between being average and great isn't about what you do. It's about how do you do it, and how do you do it to solve the unique needs of those customers. And so when you think about, if you want to turn into a helping, caring, contributing environment, you've got to think about, what language do you use internally? I've spent a lot of years in the recruitment industry, and there's phrases like traitor temps. For those of you that aren't in the industry, that's where you've got candidates that that are working through competitor agencies are called traitor temps. Now, what does that tell you about the way that organization believes and treats those candidates? You'll often get line managers say, are you in control? You need to ring that candidate and make them take that job. Get them to turn up to that interview. That's not really the environment that says you care about customers. And so what leaders have to do is think twice about, how are they trying to influence the behavior of their team, but run it through a filter of, how does that actually look like to the candidate's perspective? How does that look like, and how does that reflect on how we actually feel about our customers? And that's a real challenge for a lot of line managers, because in their world, when they were brought up, they could say those things and no one really cared. But in today's world, people care. They don't want to be seen as a pushy salesperson that makes people take jobs or does things that they don't want to do. And if you're pushing people to do that and you're not treating people well, people won't want to necessarily go the extra mile to put themselves out. Sure, they'll stay there and do a job, but they're not going to look after the whole organization. They're probably just going to look after themselves. And so you think, how do you actually do this? Well, one of the things you want to try and consider is, how do you actually remap your sales process? How do you remap your sales process whereby you can think about, how do we give customers what they want, dependent upon where they are in the sales process? And what I mean by that is that when a customer isn't recruiting and they're not going through any change, ringing them up every week going, hey Bob, got a job? Hey Sally, got a job? Hey Joan, got a job? Hey Safiq, you got a job? Like, that's not really good. They don't have a need. So you've got to think about, what you're going to do to nurture those relationships when they don't have anything to talk to about. Could it be a salary survey? Could it be an event? Could it just be offering them some free advice, or sharing, or introducing them to appear in the industry? You've got to think about, when a client's using an internal recruitment team, your goal and the way you chase that opportunity is different than maybe when they're using external agencies. What you've got to do is build an approach to business development that's relevant for where the client is in the buying process. And so then we get on to, how do you actually look after your employees and motivate your employees to do that? Because what we've focused on so far is, how do you become more customer centric in what you do? Well, the first thing is do you know why the individuals that work for you are actually at work? Because the easiest way to get them to do what you want them to do is to show them how they get what they want at the same time. I get called all the time by CEOs that go, how do I get Bob to do this? How do I get Steve to do that? How do I get Wilma to do this? My answer is always, well, what does Wilma want? Because once you know what Wilma wants, you can show her how doing what you want will get her what she wants at the same time. Why is Wilma there? But if you don't know why Wilma's there outside of collecting a paycheck, it's really difficult. And a lot of directors go, well, I know they want money. Well, what do they want to spend that money on? Do they want to pay for a wedding? Are they saving for a house? Are they paying off debt? It's the things behind the surface level motivators that will actually enable you to help engage the individuals that work in your team. And you've also then, to the next step, got to align the goals. The number of times I go in organisations and a director will give me their budget, and then I ask them what the goals are of each of the individuals, and they go, well, they don't have a goal, they've got a target. And I go, well, the challenge is that a target is owned by you, a goal is typically owned by an individual. You've got to help those individuals to learn goals and learn goal setting so you can add their goals together, temper it with a bit of the over-enthusiasm and scale it back a bit, and that should give you the target that you're probably aiming for. Top down doesn't motivate the individuals that work for you to want to do more business development. But getting them to set their goals and understand the reason they want to achieve those goals is much more likely to help you reach the level that you want to go to. Next one is avoid the smart dumb paradox. A lot of directors, I'd ask always, have you worked a desk in this market? And the reason I say that is that the day-to-day job of a recruitment consultant today is significantly different than when I started and even 5 or 6 years ago. Yet directors every day go, this is the problem, this is what we're going to do. This is the problem, this is what we're going to do. They're sitting at their desk with their playbook. Yes, this is the boom playbook. This is the bust playbook. This is the we're short of jobs playbook. The reality is those playbooks don't work as well as they used to because the market's changed. And you sit next to the individuals that can tell you how that market's changed, that can help you rewrite that playbook. But yet you hire smart people and treat them like they're dumb by telling them what they've got to do, where actually you can work together and collaborate on working out a way to overcome the market challenges that you've got today. The next way to motivate your team is to think about how are you a custodian of their career? How do you actually look after them and their interests and their development in order to succeed? The reason I'm still here today and I'm really excited about the job that I do is I've worked for a number of managers that I know cared passionately about making me a better person. They made me better at selling. They made me better at dealing customer relationships. They've made me a better manager. They made me a better director. They've made me a better trainer. Without those individuals that contributed to my development, I wouldn't be here today. And I owe those individuals a lot. But in exchange, they got 50, 60, sometimes 70 hours a week. They got a lot of me in return for the bit of them they gave to me. And that's why I feel it's a trade. I feel it's a fair trade. I work my ass off. They help me be better. But yet, do your team feel that way? Because if all they feel is you're making them work hard, but they don't feel you're developing them, they're not going to be engaged in doing some of the difficult things. But remember, there's always two, the master and the pupil. Eventually, the pupil may well become the master, and you should look forward to that day. So as we summarize this talk from the Recruitment Expo, you've got to think it's not about what you do every day, it's how do you do it? How do you show your team that you genuinely care about your customers and serving and delivering their needs? The more they believe you care, the more excited they are going to be about going out and spreading the word of how you can help those customers. You've also got to think about how do you look after your staff? How do you develop them? How do you motivate them and help them get what they want out of life? So this was the talk around business development culture. Most of you will know, and if you don't know, I have a book. It's on Amazon. It's on business development culture. And the key is not only talking about some of the things I've talked about today, but at the end of each chapter, there's exercises that leaders can use to help begin turn some of these ideas into conversation and ultimately execution. So thanks again, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the Recruitment Expo, and I'm sure I'll see you at the one in January. Bye.